Hey everybody, welcome back to GWN. I'm Noctair, your host. If you're new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button down below. Be sure to hit the little bell so you know when I post new videos. And everybody note that I do have a Patreon account now, patreon.com/Noctair, if you want to show a little holiday kindness as we're getting into that time of year. So I've been down with the man flu this last several days, and I worked through it as best I could, but then I couldn't really talk anymore. And you can't do a YouTube video if you can't talk. Now, of course, my family was overjoyed at the quiet in the household, but I wasn't. So we got some end-of-season footage here. We'll start off with Ben running his signature shimmy. That's minion drops or drop minion, depending upon what circles you tend to run in. And Ben likes to start off on the air bomb side, and I feature a lot of Ben's replays on the channel, so you've probably seen this many a time in the past. It's really kind of a stylistic thing as to whether you're going to come in on the same side or the opposite side of the air bombs, but it's been my experience that if you come in on the opposite side, you're going to run into a little more trouble getting to the builder hull. So you really gotta look at the base to figure out, can you in fact get to the builder hull? Will you be able to tank long enough to get there? And the things that are going to go into that decision are going to be things like what kind of air defenses are between the builder hull and where you're going to deploy if you're deploying opposite of the air bombs. Now, usually the air bombs are cozied right up against the builder hull, so in bases like this one, the shortest path to the builder hull is almost always going to be through the air bombs. If you came from the other side, you would be going through a whole bunch of air defenses, and that's no good. So usually you're going to be better off doing it just like Ben does it. Here we got Daz coming in with, I think this one was 3 Super Pekkas, 2 Cannon Carts, and 1 Beta Minions. Yeah, there we go. So you don't get a whole lot of Super Pekkas in the upper levels of play. And all these replays are, I think they were all 55 to 6,000. Yeah, 5,500 to 6,000 at the time. I don't think anybody had broken 6,000 when we grabbed these down. Although there were a few that were right up there, like 58, 5,900. So you're talking typically maxed and near max bases. And this is usually what I ask for from anybody who gives me a replay. I think that it shows the best strength of an attack if you can in fact have nothing under construction and you get a good solid 70% or better on that base. And here you see Daz comes in with the Super Pekkas to break holes in things and distract things. In go the Cannon Carts to do mass amounts of damage. You got the Beta Minions cleaning up around the outsides. Very solid attack. And this is one of those combos that I see a lot from these guys and from a lot of the higher level players. I mean, we're going to have I think I got 2 from Dorian in this batch. Because I've actually got 2 videos for you guys. They gave me tons of replays. Being sick this last few days has just been the absolute pits. I haven't been able to share any of these great replays I got at the end of the season from everybody. But Dorian does the same thing with his attacks as he breaks in through the walls using his signature one that we talked about earlier. It's kind of it's a Jaibaka is what I call it, Jaibak and Super Pekka. Bob comes in. This is Bob over on Oz Builders. Hopefully we'll get some more from Bob on Divergent Void here soon too. And he's a big fan of using his Raged Barbarians. So we typically get a Big Bart out of Bob. And Big Bart's great because you start off using the Raged Barbarians to kind of clear some of the stuff around the outside, and it doesn't matter how much you get or when you get it, so long as you clear enough that your troops don't get distracted on their way in. And that's what we see here. He's clearing out some of this stuff down at the bottom. He cleared a little bit the upper left-hand side. And I think this attack lasts for about 1.5 minutes altogether. And he ends up walking away with something like a 74% 2-star. So plenty of stars. Now, as he finally gets some of that little stuff cleared out, he decides to begin what I would call the main thrust of his attack. He brings the bombers in at the top to break up the walls so that he doesn't have to worry about walking around everything. And in goes some more Raged Barbarians to take out some of those outer buildings. And finally, we get the Boxer Giants and the Cannon Carts, where the Boxer Giants start to tank and work their way into the base to take out some of the bigger defenses, while the Cannon Carts work their way in from behind in the protected space. Very standard Big Bart, and really, I think it's one of the best attacks in the game as far as the general strats go. If you can get your troops maxed and learn how to use this attack effectively, you're going to pop 70% too on a regular basis. I hate to say it, I'm not that great at it. I do okay when I use it, but I'm just not a big Rage Barbarian guy. I've always been more of an airbender, although I do pretty good with my my Super Pekkas. But in this case, we can see he managed to pull a 74-2 out of the woodwork on this one. Good, solid attack again, up in the mid to upper 5,000s for Bob. Now, here we go with one of Dorian's. Dorian was in show-off mode at the end of last season because Dorian is just absolutely killing it with his attacks. We did an episode with nothing but Dorian's attacks, and again, he doesn't disappoint at the end of the season either. He gives us 2 3-stars. Not just 1, 2. And he uses his signature Jibaka, where you've got Boxer Giants and Bombers, and Cannon Carts and Super Pekkas. Brings them in, breaks down the walls, distracts the defenses, lets that Super Pekka take on the giant cannon, and it keeps its attention pretty much the whole time until finally it works its way up. It only needs to get 1 swing in before it explodes to typically take out a giant cannon, but a lot of times you'll get a full swing in, and because that's also cozied up to the builder hall, she'll end up exploding right in front of the builder hall. Now that's great because that almost always guarantees that the builder hall is going to go down. Maybe she gets a swing in on it, maybe she doesn't, but that explosion at the end will be enough to damage the builder hall significantly, such that your troops will be able to work their way in and, again, generally speaking, finish off whatever's left on it. And here we go to the end. The last 30 seconds, got a couple of junk buildings around the outside he's going to take out. Bomber manages to survive. He's going to take out that last army camp up there while we wait for the battle machine to work his way through the wall and wrap the last couple of buildings up on the lower left-hand side. I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you can keep your bombers alive, they will give you additional damage. They always do. It's nice to have that last little bit of damage at the very end of your attack to kind of put you over the end. So there we go, the first of 2 3-stars from Dorian. Here's our next one. And this is one of those eyebrow bases. I've thought about doing an episode just on how to beat the eyebrow bases, because there's really 2 of them. There's this one where you got an eyebrow at the top and the bottom, and it's kind of like that Wario eyebrow. And then there's another one where it's more of a generic diamond at the bottom and an eyebrow across the top. And I've run these before. They do okay. They're not bad diamond bases, but they've become a very common meta base. So common in the mid to upper ranks, and I'm not talking the top level ranks because they use different things now, but they're so common in that kind of mid to upper section there, the 4,000s and then the low 5,000s when you get to the end of the season. Right now we're at the 8, maybe 9 day mark of the new season, I think. It's still basically the first week or 2. So you're going to see this a lot throughout the 4,000s. And it's a fairly serviceable base, but once you figure out how to take it out, it's not hard to beat. And in this case, Dorian comes in with the Jibaka, standard pattern. Blows away the walls to disrupt the pathing that's built into the base, and then just works his way right through it until he comes down to the very end. You got about maybe 20, 30 seconds left. You got a few buildings on the outside, and they're all junk buildings. Players will typically take this either from the bottom, like you saw Dorian do, or other times they'll take it from the top, like I think Daz did one like that, just in a couple of replays back. I'd have to go back and rewind and see to make sure, but yeah. Either or will typically take this base down for a very solid 2-star, or, as you see in this case, a 3-star. Now, our next one here is from Ed. Ed is, he's one of those guys that really takes his time with his attacks. And we've got him doing a lot of Archman attacks where he gets full 3 minutes and will completely and totally take a base apart. In this particular one, he's going to do a 77-2, and he's going to use beta minions, cannon carts, and bombers. Now, this is a less than common combination, ground with air like that. Or, I'm sorry, cannon carts, dropships, and beta minions. What you do with the dropships is you use them to kind of clear some of the bigger buildings around the outside to open the pathing for your dropships and your beta minions. If you can do it, and a lot of times you can, especially in a base like this, the cannon carts can be used to take out the air bombs. And once those air bombs are gone, your shimmy minion drop is going to go straight through the base, and it's not going to encounter nearly as much resistance doing so. Now, the big weakness to this base is in the outside of the core, both the air bombs and the roaster have been set up along the wall. So you take out the air bombs on the one side using your cannon cards. You use the beta minions tanked by the drop ships to get out that last roaster on the other side. Between the two, it's clear sailing at that point. And because at level 16 you got that extra cannon card, you have the power to be able to do this. I don't know that I would try to do this if I didn't have a level 16 cannon card, because I don't think that 2's really enough. But you can try it. It might be something to give a swing and see how it works out for you. Maybe maybe you only got level 14 cannon cards because you didn't get them upgraded all the way yet. That makes sense. Give it a try and see how it works out. But he ends up pulling out a nice solid 77-2. Like I said, this is all end of season footage. I got another one for you that I'll be putting together and putting out tomorrow. Great stuff. All kinds of different bases, 5,500 to 6,000, and just a gazillion different ways that they could go. Lots of different replays with lots of different attack strategies. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and get out here and give my voice a quick rest. It's starting to crack. If you got any questions or comments, be sure to drop them down below. Feel free to drop me an email, gamingwithknock@gmail.com, and I'll catch y'all later. Keep on clashing. Bye-bye.